Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, locked and loaded once again. Oh, don't you know that's the sound of the man working on the train.
Oh, here he goes.
Locked and loaded for another episode for the archives. Jeffrey Wilson chilling with my boy Pat Miletich, Casa de Miletich. We're going to hang out here tonight and have another episode talking a little smack. A little freeform tonight. No guests. It's just Pat and I chop it up on events of the world, things that are going on. It's a crazy world we're living in, man. And we're going to talk.
There's so much going on, though, that we
There's a lot.
Don't necessarily need a guest.
With these last couple weeks, I mean, it's been heavy, and we're going to chop it up. But before we get to it, man, there's been some stuff going on. And actually, I wanted to reiterate to everyone else, we are taking the show on the road. And so we are looking at Chicago as our first kickoff city. So Chicago, if you want to chime in, let us know what's a good location. We kind of have a tentative location in
Gentlemen's
mind.
Cooperative.
Gentlemen's
I
Cooperative.
say that's got to be it.
I think that's got to be it. But Chicago,
be it.
let us know what kind of turnout we might expect. And again, man, if we love producing this kind of content for you guys. If you guys can click that PayPal link on all of our episodes and, you know, donate whatever you can, support the farm, baby. We want to keep this thing flying.
Yeah, we want to record the show, have an audience, have, you know, someone with a microphone walking around with, you know, that way the audience can ask us questions. We can answer to the best of our ability what we think, what our take is. And I think that is
fan interaction too, really interacting with our listeners.
The way this show is meant to be done.
I think so. Right? I think so. I think that fan interaction, I think, is going to be very, very crucial. Yeah, man. You had a crazy last week, my friend, before we get into the conspiracy. Yeah, and before we kind of...
And sorry to interrupt you, but I think I might as well just go live on Periscope.
Well, feel free, my friend. This is America, where you can do what the fuck you want.
I think...
but we've been talking, Patrick and myself, and we're thinking about... there was another podcast venture that we are going to be starting in addition to the Conspiracy Farm.
Right.
Why don't you explain a little bit, Patrick, because you are more the aficionado in this realm, about what we're going to be chopping it up about.
It's going to be about everything combat. So it could be combat sports, Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, wrestling, judo, mixed martial arts, law enforcement, military training, talk to a lot of experts in those fields, have a lot of fun, bounce stuff back and forth, ideas, everything else. And I think that, you know, really to push the idea that every citizen out there should be good at defending themselves also. You know what I mean? And we would even be willing to accept questions from people, you know, where should I go? What city am I in? We'll look it up before the show if you send us the questions beforehand.
Without a doubt.
Tell them what the best gyms are in their city, their area, so that they can go get true professionals to help them. Because nothing worse than having somebody that doesn't know what they're doing who's teaching you. You don't know because you've never done it. That's a pretty ugly situation.
Yeah, again, I would rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. You know what I mean? So and we talked about that with Sonny Puzikas, man. Excuse me. The preparation for possible violence. No, that doesn't mean we're necessarily doom and gloom scenarios, but you know, there is evil out there roaming the countryside, and so you definitely want to be prepared. It's almost like fire insurance, car insurance, just in case something comes your way. So, Pat, again, last week, man, I was sitting at home, of course, watching Access TV fights as Pat and his co-host commentate some awesome fights from Bart Cuban's network, Access TV, LFA. And he's over in Fort Eustis, Virginia. And I look up, and he's rocking a Conspiracy Farm T-shirt. And Pat, of course,
I'm wearing it now.
He's wearing it now, but he's deathly afraid of heights. And I see this man in a plane attached to another human being jumping out of that motherfucker, rocking the Conspiracy Farm shirt. If that doesn't embody the whole spirit of, like, just get after it, baby. And kudos, man, for facing your fears, man. That is some big time shit. And I lost my mind, dude. It was so awesome to see you jump out of that bad boy, first of all, and then to see you rocking the tee. The feedback, man, my timeline and my DMs just blew up.
Well, that's cool. No, the thing is, I am truly scared to death of heights. I mean, if you get me on top of a building, you are going to kick my ass. I am so terrified of heights. It's ridiculous. And I think it's from having dreams my whole childhood of being able to fly, and then every dream I would just stop flying and start falling. And I'd wake up screaming all the time, right?
Interesting.
So, you know, I'm at my friend's brewery, who's a SEAL Team 6 leader. True badass. That guy is the best of the best. And there's other guys in there from the teams, and they go, "Hey man, you want to go skydiving tomorrow?" And you can't say no to SEAL Team 6 guys.
No, you can't.
I mean, you just can't. I mean, if they hand you a gun and go, "Hey, we're going to go into a fight," you go, "All right, I'm going." You know. So they told me I have to, so I'm going. So that's the thing is I was really, really scared. I was scared in the plane when that thing takes off and they open that friggin' sliding. It's like a garage door on the side of it. And then I got up to the side, and the first two guys went and dropped. And my friend, who's the SEAL Team 6 leader, goes, "You're going to feel like you're flying. It's not like falling at all. It's like flying." And I go, "All right, I'll believe you, man. I'll believe you." So we slide up, and I get my legs out the door. And he goes, "I'm going to rock forward once. We're going to go backwards, and then we're going to go out. Then we're going." And so we go. And the first thought through my head was, did I do the technique right with my hands, my head back, and kicking my heels back and bending my back? But then it was, I am not flying. My ass is falling, and we are falling fast.
Like a rock.
There is no sensation of flying whatsoever.
You had said, people had asked you, and I saw in the questions on the timeline that, you know, were you scared? Were you scared? And of course, obviously you were scared, but you know, you had said you were shitting fucking bricks, but you did not let that on at all. What was that feeling like, though, champ? I mean, you know, obviously coming from your world of having thousands of people chant your name as you come to the octagon. I mean, not necessarily comparison of juice, but you had to have got an amazing rush out of that experience. Not just the jumping out of the plane, but facing your fears. You know, that mental thing.
Well, my kid's swim coach saw me at the swim meet this past weekend. I went and watched my kid swim in the state swim meet, and he's a former Navy SEAL. He did 11 years. And he yells at me he's down on the deck, and I'm in the stands, and he yells at me at the University of Iowa, and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "was it better than sex?" And I go, "What?" He goes, "Skydiving, was it better than sex?" And I go, I don't know, but I can tell you the sensation that I had. Without screaming, it feels like your whole body and every thought in you is screaming like a 5-year-old girl. That's the sensation I initially had for a while. But
so what was your altitude?
I think we were at 14,000, something like that, a little over, somewhere around there when we jumped.
Yeah.
So we're above the clouds. We're well above the clouds, and there were a lot of clouds.
So did you get an estimate of free fall time? How long did you free fall, and then?
I didn't ask that, but I think we were. Once he pulled the canopy, we were probably 4 or 5 minutes, and he was cloud surfing like this, and then going around stuff hard, pulling G's. And he's yelling the whole time. He's like, "Yeah, feel the G's, baby."
Well, of course, he's done it trillions of times. Well, let's not talk about it. Let's be about it. We have the video right here. We're going to let you guys check it out. If you haven't seen it already, this is the high-flying Croatian sensation, Pat Milicic.
Are they going to hear it? We got the volume?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they put some pretty decent music with it.
I know. It's badass, dude.
Yeah, and this is skydivesuffolk.com in Suffolk, Virginia. They were awesome people. They have nothing but experts there. Obviously, military experts, special forces guys who do all this stuff.
All right, we are here with Pat. Good afternoon. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, thank you.
Doing all right, all right. So welcome to Skydive Suffolk. It is a pretty nice day out, a little cloudy, but nice day out.
Right.
So it's your first time jumping?
It is.
And you said some of your buddies talked you into jumping?
Mike
Oh, they're
Stacks,
very nice.
these gentlemen over here, the instructors, yeah, so.
All right. So nervous at all, excited, or just
No,
excited?
I'm nervous because I'm afraid of heights.
Really?
For
We're
real.
going to tackle a couple fears today.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to give a shout out to anybody? Let them know we're going to go a couple miles up?
You know what? To my broadcast partner, Ron Crook, who was supposed to be here, but missed out.
You ready to go?
Yes.
All right, man, let's do it, Pat.
Thank you.
Was he just not having it?
He changed his mind in
Last second.
Yeah. He said yes to them, but when we left, he went, nah.
Once the wheels went up, he was gone.
You know what? I mean, had I not been friends with Mike Stacks and been working with those guys and training with them, it would have been easy for me to back up. To be honest with you.
You're jumping with the best, man.
Yeah, so here's where I'm not happy.
All right, we're about halfway up. You halfway ready?
No, I'm actually not.
All right, do you want to say anything else before we go on the outside?
Hey, man, I'm looking forward to it. That's all I can say.
Hell of an experience.
Woo!
Watch how fast these guys fall out
I know.
of this plane, dude. I saw that and my gut dropped.
Good for you. Fucking right, dude. That is so righteous. Oh, so he threw that, whatever that's called, immediately almost.
Slows you down a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
So see how he hooks my legs
Yeah.
to keep me stable, and then he tells me to put my arms out.
He's kind of holding you stable with his arms, too, with on the shoulders, it looks like.
Yeah, he knows how to turn. You see him change the level on his hands. See, he can just do little things to turn. And the guy obviously filming knows exactly how to maneuver around us. It's pretty amazing how they do it. See how he's turning his hands one's higher and spinning us?
Of course, to our listening audience, they're like, what the fuck's even happening?
Look at how fast we're falling. Look
Pat
at the
is
clouds.
jumping out
Look
of
at
a
the
plane,
clouds
baby.
going past.
So freaking amazing. This video will be available soon, ladies and gentlemen, so don't you fret. On YouTube, by the way. Or Patreon.
Yeah, so they don't want to trip. They don't want the front guy to trip because you don't know what you're doing. And then they would fall on top of you and smash you, so they have you stick your legs straight out and you slide in on your ass.
Nice soft landing.
Yeah.
Hi. So you made it up through your first skydive?
Good.
That was awesome.
Oh, congratulations.
What'd you think of it?
That was incredible.
All right, what was your favorite part?
To be honest with you, I think going out of the plane and then the silence of flying around with the canopy open.
Nice.
Wow.
Well, congrats on your first jump. Thank you for
Nice.
jumping with Skydive Suffolk.
Yes, we got to give SkydiveSuffolk.com a plug here at the end there.
For sure.
There's their phone number, so give them a call.
757-539-3531 if you're over in Virginia and want to do some...
Yes, sir. And we need to tag them in this.
Oh,
When
for
we
sure.
put it on Twitter and stuff and Facebook.
Without a doubt. Pardon me, ladies and gentlemen, as we...
Yeah, they were awesome, man. Great people.
And, that was actually, it was the 100-year, I think, anniversary over there
Of the
at Fort Eustis.
Yeah, Fort Eustis, Langley. That's a joint base, Langley, Eustis. So
Yeah. So apparently you had a good time, brother.
yeah, we did some shooting in the simulator with M4 platforms, which was very cool. So bad guy, good guy pop up stuff and
yes,
things like
yes.
that. When I performed pretty good on one of them. I think it was 27 of 28 hits. I
Damn,
got.
son.
And then
He's lethal.
Well, but he told me, you can see underneath it says unqualified. And I go, I hit 27 of 28, and they were all bad guys. I didn't hit any good guys. Why wouldn't I qualify with, those numbers? And he goes, well, you got to hit this triangle, the head. And so I go, you told me to shoot the red, so I was hitting him in the chest every time, right, with 2.
Weird. That's kind of a weird criteria. I mean,
Yeah.
27 out of 28 is pretty impressive.
Put 2 center mass in their chest. I mean, they're going down.
Yeah,
most
they're
likely,
done.
right?
They're pretty much, they're incapacitated, as they say.
So we had a good time, though. It was great. We did a ton of different stuff. Went out on a big Navy tug. They explained all the ships, what they do, all that stuff. And it was pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah,
cool
the video packages, like I said, I watched the fights last weekend. The video package that Access TV produced while you guys were out there was really, really impressive. So I don't know if you could find that online somewhere, but outside of the video we have here, I suggest you check that out.
Yeah. So what are we going to talk about now, bud?
Man, these last couple weeks, and as I've talked about before on this show, there are certain subjects that are literally pretty draining emotionally, almost physically, emotionally. And again, we kind of keep circling around this same subject of
I think we've built
human trafficking.
I think we've built an armor up to it, though.
Well, I mean, we got it. This information has to come out. I mean, it's not let justice be done though the heaven falls. It's not. We can't bitch about the inconveniences of having to kind of report it when these people went through
the kids are living it and dying.
Absolute hell. So. Right. Man, this last week, I mean, if you have followed the interweb and as far as the alternative news, you've seen some news come out. Some individuals like Sarah Ruth Ashcraft. I've been wanting to get her on. What she has said, ladies and gentlemen,
crazy,
is that a very famous actor by the name of Tom Hanks purchased her when she was a young gal.
How old was she? 12 or something?
Very young. I forget. She worked. he worked with her father, apparently, so allegedly. Again, this is allegedly, folks.
Right.
And then you have another individual whom I've actually been able to. I hit up Sarah about coming on, and she says she's not doing interviews, so that's not an option as far as interviews. But another story that had come out here in the last few weeks, which has been around for a very long time, is Fiona Barnett from Australia. I mean, she's been testifying in European courts about this issue for, I think, about 20 plus years. If you want to check her documentary out called Candy Girl, make sure.
Oof.
I mean, it's really, really tough to watch.
Brutal. It's brutal.
It's really tough to fucking watch. But
and
I mean,
we've talked about this too before, that most humans on this planet don't have the ability to think that level of evil.
right?
So it's so foreign to have to watch it, and so heinous of a crime, and so satanic in its nature, that it literally messes up your wiring when you see what happens. The organ harvesting, all these types of things that they do. You just go, I just can't. I don't think I could be in law enforcement dealing with pedophilia. I don't think I would end up killing someone and going to prison myself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to get through it. And I think that Trump, eventually, whether you like him or not, look, these people are raping and killing children and doing horrible things to them. If you don't give the death penalty to those people, then you're a major, I don't know. I think, look, there's people out there that think we shouldn't kill anyone. And I get it. Okay, you're all for peace, you're all for kindness. Just lock them up, throw away the key, which is an option. But to me, you've got to end it. You've got to stop the cycle, and it literally has to be a mass cleansing of these individuals and just erase them from the planet and find out who their victims were, reprogram and help those victims,
without a
fix
doubt,
those people, and get this stuff to stop, man, and start having peace in this world for these children.
Well, I mean, I posted recently, it's so crazy because, again, like you said, most people just can't fathom this. But when you get into some of these institutions, and this isn't to knock any particular religion, this just happens to be going on in the Catholic religion. I mean, I posted the other day a cardinal in Australia, a cardinal in Washington. It's
32 bishops in Chile who all resigned. Why aren't they being arrested and thrown in prison?
That's what's the weird. That's so confounding to me, champ. I don't, and not only just that, you have certain organizations, the NAMBLA or whatever, that are actually trying to normalize it.
There was a guy on Twitter today going back and forth with our friend Craig Sawman Sawyer, former SEAL Team 6 guy, who has Vets for Child Rescue.
Absolutely, new show coming up on Netflix called Contraland.
Yeah,
check
it's
that
going
out.
to be badass. But Craig, I mean, this guy he literally came out and said this, that age should not, he wrote this on Twitter, age is not a pertaining factor when it comes to love and having sex with people. And Craig came back with, dude, you are going to stand in front of the man one day and you are going to be judged. And the guy comes back and goes, how's that possible? There is no God. And I came back with, I included Craig and this freak in my tweet, and I just simply said, I don't think we're going to have to worry about this much longer. I think that these people are going to hang by the neck. I think that Trump is going to have an executive order, and it's going to be, look, you're all going to get charged federally, and we're friggin' building the gallows, dude.
Well, this goes back to what Craig Sawman Sawyer was saying about Gitmo, Gitmo being expanded for, these type of arrests. But I mean,
this is not, look, guys, this is not a run-of-the-mill guy. This is a SEAL Team 6. Like, he was the best of the best operators in the world. He knows what's going on. And when he says Gitmo has been expanded and is going to be filled, he knows what the hell he's talking about.
Well, like we've mentioned before about Q, and we've talked about this on the show. Q said the month of July was going to be the month that the truth would be known to the world, and here we are, the last day of July, my friend.
What? Well, all last week this stuff started coming out, though.
But it's been coming out. He made it sound like
the heiress to the Seagram's friggin'
I
fortune.
saw that.
She is the one that purchased the friggin' island.
But it seemed to me that Q was laying out a definitive date and time as far as it relates to the truth will be known. He said, It's the end of July, and what we know is what we've always known. Always known.
Yeah, we've always known. But here's the thing:
the world. He said the world. The world's going to know.
The world is knowing. I mean, there's a lot of people that watch this.
You're absolutely right. I just anticipated much more of and it might be more of a slow and steady hammer to drop. And I think, like we've talked about, I think more of the hammer is going to drop coming close to the midterm elections.
Well, I think when all the indictments, a lot of the indictments get open.
Well,
I think when a lot of big heavy hitters start getting scooped up and
let's James Gunn. What are your thoughts on James Gunn, the Guardians of the Galaxy producer that they found tweets of his making jokes about child rape and molestation and pedophilia 10 years ago?
Louis C.K. his stand-up friggin' routine saying the same stuff about eating kids and all this sort of shit.
You've had a few.
Dude, that's not comedy.
Patton Oswalt, you had Anthony Jeselnik, which I've always been a huge fan of Anthony Jeselnik, and he's always been kind of blatantly, I'm going to offend you type cat. But no, I mean. Look, I don't care, freedom of speech or not, dude. You don't talk about raping and eating children. I'm with you.
If I was in a Louis C.K. stand-up routine and he said that, look, comedians have people that harass them. What are they called again? Sorry. You got in the crowd, a comedian, getting harassed. That's a
heckler. The
heckler.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to heckle a guy like Louis C.K. for making jokes about raping and eating children. I'm just going to storm the deck and he's going to get wasted, right?
That's one way to handle it.
He's going to get fucking wrecked.
Well, see, and this is kind of a huge part of this conversation, not just right to free speech, but I mean, this guy is making jokes about this on his Twitter 10 years ago, and then he gets fired from one of the hugest franchises in Disney.
And what did he get fired for?
These comments, these jokes on Twitter.
10 years.
Well, someone tracked him down, but my point, and part of my point is Disney, I mean, they definitely don't want this bad PR, but they are a part of this RICO case, which is, running a criminal enterprise with Harvey Weinstein, et cetera, et cetera. So this is, the apple's not falling far from the tree in this situation.
We know there's been, I don't know how many children have been abused. I mean, that's just, I'm not even going to say alleged anymore because there's a reason all these music and acting stars who start out as Disney kids go
lose their shit,
who completely fall apart as adults and go fucking haywire.
Well, and someone who's really kind of spoken out in somewhat of a codified form is comedian Dave Chappelle. He's getting almost $50 million from Comedy Central and fuck that, and then dipping out and then speaking on things like comedian Martin Lawrence losing his mind in the streets. And I mean, he just kind of alluded to certain things going on in Hollywood without necessarily putting it on Super Blast.
Right.
In another person, we talked about Corey Feldman. I've actually reached out to him again because as not just Tom Hanks is coming out in the news more frequently in this last week or two, Steven Spielberg as well.
Because the actor Isaac Cappy?
I'm not sure. Who's that?
Isaac Cappy. He's been in Terminator movies and all kinds of stuff.
I'm not him.
He's the guy on Periscope who is outing. He's the one outing Tom Hanks. He's the one outing Steven Spielberg, Stephen King.
Oh, really? Well, there must be several then, because again, this Sarah Ruth Ashcraft, you can find her on Twitter. I mean, she's blowing up on Twitter right now.
Right. They shut her down for a while. Twitter shut her down.
Did they?
Yeah, there was something going on where they shut her down.
She's the one who alleges that Tom Hanks purchased her from her father many moons ago. Again, it's
if that's true, if it's found to be true.
We want to definitely make sure we pump the brakes on this. Even though you and I understand this stuff does exist, we can get into kind of a hasty kind of procedure where people just become guilty, jump to conclusions, and people are just guilty until proven innocent. We don't want to jump into that.
But let's just say, if all of this stuff is true,
correct.
People have done this systematically to children. Heather O'Rourke, who was killed, Isaac Cappy talks about.
Yes, the poltergeist gal.
Right, she was killed by these child predators that, ultimately, if it's true and it's found to be true and documented, that these types of people need to hang. They just need to hang by the neck until dead. I've got 3 daughters, dude. I've got 3 daughters. If I find out somebody did this to my daughter, I'm just going to say it. You're going to turn up missing. You're going missing. There is no doubt in my mind.
Without a doubt. I mean, I'm right there with you, my friend. And there was another.
And we have to speak out about this stuff.
No, you have to.
And we have to take a strong stand to the point of, you should die. You should die. You should be erased from the existence for having done this. Period. There is no second chances because pedophiles don't get better. Okay, they don't.
Well, and to be, historically kind of accurate, this type of shit, as far as ritualistically abusing children, whether sexually or just, it's been going on for centuries. This just goes back to the Babylonians, and so
of course,
a lot of these kind of pagan worship rituals, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this is
that's because the people in control of the frickin' world have been in control forever, for centuries, and they hide it. They've got the power. They've got the ability to hide all this stuff.
Yeah. Eating adrenochrome from children's bodies is something they're definitely into, and it's like you said, man, and we've said it many times in the show. You just can't get the depth of the evil, which is a testament to your humanity. But we have to, like you said, we have to speak up because this is, here in the last month in Iowa, and I don't know how accurate these numbers are. Almost 40 young boys and girls have gone missing since like 3 or 4 weeks ago, just in Iowa.
I think it was in an 8-day period.
It's been a very short period of time.
40 kids just disappeared.
One guy was arrested in Des Moines the other day attempting to traffic a young girl, and he was supposedly on his way to Missouri, I mean, I live in St. Louis. I mean, that's one of the largest human trafficking spots in the country, too.
And one of my friends posted the story about the I-80 corridor. Kids are swiped near I-80. They're swiped out of truck stops. They're swiped out of gas stations. Because that's the quickest route, right?
Yeah.
And so any town near, how far do I live from Interstate 80?
You're
Not
right
very
there.
Far,
You're right there.
So that's why it's important to carry guns, knives, and have big dogs that'll eat people.
And recognize that this is a problem. Someone hit me up on Facebook like, man, you got to stop talking about this. You got to start, providing solutions. I mean, like you just said, there's really, it's kind of a black and white situation.
Shining light on it.
You can't change the problem unless you're aware of it. Right. Yes, we can compartmentalize this and be like, oh, it's human trafficking, and somehow that just like removes our own, not necessarily guilt, but our own understanding of what's going on. Like it's like people listen to the term human trafficking and go, so it's somebody who's like came to America and looking for freedom, and they're willing to do this stuff, and they're going exactly.
This is a 10-year-old kid, you moron.
Well, and when you hear the testimony and you see the depositions and hear individuals like Fiona Bartlett,
right?
I mean, at 6 years old, ladies and gentlemen, she's been placed into a sarcophagus about 6 feet deep in a cemetery with another child whose body is decomposing, and she's laying on that body, and then like 6 or 7 guys with robes stand around her, and then they cover the sarcophagus and do this weird ritual, and it's like this resurrection ritual. I mean, this is just a part of what she said. And there was another one. A lot of these rituals happens in churches, which is just super insane. But there was one. I mean, when you listen to it, she's like, there was like 10 or 12 kids basically on this platform, and this guy with this particular garb on comes up with his samurai sword and literally decapitates each child. And then they wind up having this orgy with the blood. I mean, it's fucked. It's beyond fucked up, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's hard to even speak on this and understand that this is something that's happening on the planet today, but it is. And when you listen to this person, her testimony and her saying what happened, I mean, it's really hard to think that she's lying. And right. What's happening, what she was involved with, honestly, Nicole Kidman's father, I forget his name, but he was a professor of psychology over there in Australia, and he was allegedly a part of this and raped her.
She said Nicole Kidman watched her.
Was present when some of these things took place, and she was well aware of the fact that her father was involved in this kind of cult, if you will. And it's no accident as we talk about this third rail shit. This gentleman winds up dead. I hate to use the term gentleman, but Nicole Kidman's father winds up dead after Fiona Barnett blows the whistle on him.
Right.
So, I mean, this is kind of just the standard operating procedure for some of this.
Now, was his death suicide?
I don't remember how they say he died, champ. I don't remember. It might have been. It might have been. I don't recall. I'm sorry.
But here's the thing. This is freaking me out to the point where I've got 3 young daughters. How could you've got a daughter.
I have 2 daughters.
2 daughters, I mean. How could you have sex with a child in front of your own daughter?
It's what I'm saying. We're talking
son of a bitches.
We're like speaking very different languages.
I mean, to begin with.
Right.
How would you have sex with a child, number one? Two
in front of your own kid.
Fucking child.
And supposedly, according to Fiona,
Holy
like she was
shit.
very just sitting watching, sneering, didn't really give a fuck. I mean, again, this is alleged, but when Fiona Barnett, ladies and gentlemen, check her out. Watch Candy Girl, the documentary.
You're not going to enjoy it.
You're not. I mean, but it will enlighten you again. I mean, it literally once we start understanding that this is going down from our most smallest, from literally our parents, some of our parents, to some of our schools, to some of our churches, to some of our city halls,
right.
our hospitals, our law offices, our federal. I mean, it's everywhere. And so when you see all these arrests, like you said, the Chilean priests and all this. Let's stop assuming
Chilean
these are all
bishops.
I'm sorry, but let's stop assuming that these are all isolated incidents. We have a global network,
it's a
systematic global network trading, and not just our kids. We've talked about it before: guns, drugs, people's body parts, but particularly our children. You have a sick. Like I said, it's the Force. You have cats who are fucking super Sith Lords. Who are, I mean, let's just say it, bro. Part of this programming, part of this MK Ultra, Jenny Moonstone spoke about it, and he spoke about it. The part of the whole trauma aspect, if you want to use them later on, is to traumatize them and split their personalities. But if you want to get in a situation where you want to traumatize them to kill them, then ladies and gentlemen, they're eating these kids, and they're eating particular parts of their body, their adrenal glands, because when they're traumatized, their blood is pumped full of adrenaline, and
so they pull the blood out, and then they spin it, and they get the adrenaline out of it.
They don't even necessarily have to spin. I mean, I don't know how it works exactly, but they eat their adrenal gland.
I've seen the pictures of the vial.
Yes.
It looks like a vial.
It's full of adrenochrome, and this is part of their whole ritualistic staying young, or whatever the fuck it is. But I mean, again, like you said, how
Bill Clinton hasn't gotten enough adrenochrome lately. He's looking pretty ragged.
Well, he probably
raggedy.
He's definitely, well, I don't know. Bill Clinton's definitely done his share of shady shit.
That's alleged.
Of course. All of this is alleged, ladies and gentlemen. Pat and I just sit here and hypothesize and theorize.
So any other subjects we should talk about today?
Well,
because I know that there are a lot of people probably
after that uplifting conversation
in their toilet after everything we've talked about.
But I mean, that's a part. That's okay. That's okay, ladies and gentlemen. We gotta wake up, man.
Tell you what we should do. We'll take a break for an announcement. Right, we'll take a break for a commercial break.
A quick commercial break, and then we'll come back?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's do that.
Let's hear from our sponsors.
Let's do it. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Jeffrey Wilson from the Conspiracy Farm. If you want to get your Ric Flair on and be a kiss-stealing, wheeling-dealing, limousine-riding, jet-flying son of a gun, you need to take yourself sweet side to 111 West Jackson Boulevard, Chicago, Illinois. The Gentlemen's Cooperative, ladies and gentlemen. They will get you fitted in the finest suits you could possibly be fitted in. Woo!
Hey, everybody, go to chemicalfreebody.com to find the cleansing and the best products that you can find as far as cleaning out your body. Your body absorbs massive amounts of metals and pollutants. Every day should be a cleanse. Do that with chemicalfreebody.com. Amazing products that will keep you healthy and change your health if you're sick. chemicalfreebody.com.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. More of the Conspiracy Farm. Patrick J. Militich, Jeffrey Wilson. Yeah, some Gentlemen's Cooperative, man. We've had some really great sponsors, man. I mean, I just want to say thank you again.
Chemical Free Body.
Chemical Free Body.
Yep, good stuff.
IowaBison.com.
Love bison.
Yes.
Delicious.
Very lean, very high in protein.
My buddy David Clark doesn't like bison. He's a vegan, but...
shout out to my man David Clark. Check out his podcast, We Are Superman.
Yeah.
Love that guy, man.
He's also got a radio show called The Lactic Acid Trip out in Denver. Yeah, guys, we
gotta get him back on. Check
cool.
up on him, see what he's up to.
He's actually got pretty good political acumen. He understands what's going on, and he lives in the hotbed of liberalism.
For sure.
Out there in Boulder.
Yeah.
But
he kind of leans on a little bit more the Eastern philosophy, which kind of, quite frankly, I do as well. We're all human beings. We kind of get.
And the cool thing he said to me is, he's a Buddhist. He believes in Buddhist philosophy, and he goes, "Dude, Buddhism is conservatism. It is, you're accountable for oneself. Like your situation in life is literally your doing.
Yeah. Now,
of course, everybody has bad luck, but he discounts all of that and is pretty good about having an understanding of life in general and an ability to just maintain a solid, positive mindset, which is really cool, really cool. So yeah, check out his
Understanding
podcast,
the Tao, the way.
So we're, going from very positive to negative, but we're going to talk about positive stuff.
Always.
All of these arrests, these massive arrests and rescues of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children.
Thousands
of children now, is unheard of, right? I mean, this level.
I've never seen it.
We've never seen that, right?
No.
And here's the cool thing, okay? And I tell people this, people who are my friends who are liberals. Yes, I've got friends who are liberals, and I'm okay with that. Believe what you want to believe politically, that's okay. We should be able to, as adults, discuss ideas.
It shouldn't define your friendship necessarily.
Right.
I wouldn't say.
Right. I still love them. They're still my friends.
For sure.
That's not it. But I tell them, I go, they don't believe a lot of the stuff that we talk about, right? And I go, look, here's the thing. There's a massive uptick, I mean, by thousands and thousands of arrests compared to any other administration, number one. So Trump made the promise that he was going to destroy the human traffickers and pedophiles. He's doing it, okay? He promised tax cuts. He promised a lot of things. He promised the trade deals were going to be no more. He's kept his promise on a lot of stuff. So if you think for a minute that when he makes a statement to Hillary Clinton during the debate and says, because you'd be in prison.
I thought about that today, actually.
Look, the guy has kept his promise on everything. So if you think for a minute he's not going to destroy. Look, he was elected, and it's a fact that because he was elected, this is why all this stuff is going down.
It probably would not be going down under Hillary's watch, for sure. Yeah, without a doubt.
So anyway, now, my liberal friends, you should be very, very ecstatic that Donald Trump has gone after the hated Koch brothers, the billionaires, right?
Yeah, like you had mentioned that. And I know not as much about that, but I mean, the Koch brothers have been around for quite a while, one of those kind of George Soros-ish super money.
And also, he has, look, here's a great thing, and people need to recognize this. All the false news out there, the fake news. Trump says a highly respected federal judge today stated that the Trump administration gets great credit for reuniting illegal families. Thank you. And please look at the previous administration's records. Not good. So then he goes after the Kochs in the very next tweet going out. He goes, the globalist Koch brothers, who have become a total joke in Republican circles, are against strong borders and powerful trade. I never sought their support because I don't need their money or bad ideas. They love my tax and regulation cuts, judicial picks, and more. I made them richer. Their network is highly overrated. I have beaten them at every turn. They want to protect their companies outside the U.S. from being taxed. I'm for America first and the American worker. A puppet for no one. Two nice guys with bad ideas. Make America great again. Look, dude, this is an alpha male kicking everyone's ass, period. If you don't think so and can't see that, you are blind.
That'll be again, man. Like, you know, I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter. I'm not. He's doing things like I said, like you said, with the arrests, with the funding of ISIS. I am upset that he still started funding. He restarted funding the white helmets.
I knew where you were going with that, right?
Well, I mean, it's definitely, you know,
we can read each other pretty well.
We have to ask ourselves why would something like that happen? And you know, recently he had to do the with his tariff policy, he had to wind up creating a bailout for $12 billion for the farmers because it affected them so much. So I mean, you know, I get it, but you know what?
I am willing to have, and this is everything in life, not just that deal with the tariffs.
My point is, we just have to
short-term pain. Pay the short price with short-term pain,
if that's what it is,
for the goal that you're trying to achieve.
For sure,
and he understands the long game, dude. He understands the long game.
You and I need to be able to articulate the successes as well as the failures, because I don't want to, as we've talked about in the show, we don't want to just be sitting here in this echo chamber of,
God dang it, you can't say it's a failure when it's not a failure yet.
Well, I mean, right? Everybody gave Obama shit for bailing out Chrysler and all this other stuff, but then
that was a massive failure.
But I understand,
right? the long term,
the financial aspect of bailing out farmers $12 billion because of a flawed policy. How different is that than when Obama bailed out Chrysler or whatever different, you know, to the tune of billions and billions of dollars? My point is, we just need to be able to vocalize the success, and not to say it was a failure, but you know, that's to have to bail out the farmers for $12 billion after, you know, that's, one could call that like short term mishaps or whatever you want to call it, but that's $12 billion, dude. That's not
right. But how much more money in the end does that make the nation because the tariff deals change, right? That's the main thing to me is the long-term goal. He understands. I think he understands winning in the long term and the legacy and all that sort of stuff. And So
where's this Russian collusion business at? I saw some more stuff with Manafort's trials about to start. And, they're now, Trump seems like he's throwing Michael Cohen not necessarily under the bus, but that whole situation, which is just fucked to begin with. Like, what's up with attorney-client privilege? Why are they raiding, just, that shit's crazy. But, I mean, still, there's...
Is it a diversion? I've said that before. Is it a diversion? I think, come on, man.
I don't know.
Come on. Think about it. Look, if you look it up, anybody can do the research for themselves. Look at the number of years that Mueller served as the head of the FBI. That dog, this is my mother-in-law's dog that's in my house.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you're hearing in the background is the divine stylings of Bentley. Bentley, the small Pomeranian.
I want to put him in the backyard so a friggin' eagle comes and gets him.
A nice big owl. Bentley's sitting here letting us know he's a Hillary.
He's an annoying.
He's a Hillary supporter. Apparently,
he is. He voted for Hillary, little bastard. But anyway, where was I? Where was I here?
I'm sorry. I can't help you.
You're supposed to be the smart one on this podcast.
Well, we're all basically saying the same thing. We're basically discussing how the world is moving in a direction that we don't want it to move into, ladies and gentlemen. And Trump is, again, this visceral Trump anxiety, this Trump crazy syndrome is really taking a toll on.
Now it's diagnosed by psychiatrists as a real thing.
I want to know where, again, with all we've talked about with Q and, his deadline of where is everything going? You know what I mean? Are we just kicking the can down the road for the masses to have these kind of political conversations of
I think that
these trials, Manafort, Mueller? Like you were basically talking about Mueller and, where's that going to go? When will that be resolved?
Well, like I said, with the Mueller thing, that's where I was at, is look up the number of years that Mueller served as the head of the FBI. Then look up the number of maximum years you can serve in that role. He had already served the maximum number of years.
As head of the FBI.
As head of the FBI. Donald Trump even threw out the diversionary tweet of, I can't believe Mueller, I interviewed him for the head of the FBI, and now all of a sudden, the very next day he gets hired to investigate me and Russian collusion and all this other stuff. I'm telling you, dude, you're watching the greatest orchestrated reality TV show in the history of mankind. You are witnessing the biggest sting and ass-kicking you have ever seen in your life. This will go down in history, in the annals of human history, as the greatest ass-kicking of evil that is ever created.
And believe me, I want that to be the case. I'm not saying it's not going to be, but it's just like, when's that going to start happening?
Donald Trump met with Mueller in Trump Tower and said, here's what's going down. Mattis was in the meeting. Mattis is the man, the 4-star general of the Marine Corps. And he looked at Mueller, who's a former Marine. I can't say former, retired Marine.
Yeah. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
And said, this is how it's going down, dude. This is how it's going down.
Again, if that was to be the case, that would ridiculously be like the biggest sting ever to go down. Like I said to you a couple weeks ago, Trump's just really, not that he's ever won it, but he's really losing the PR battle. Like, he's
not losing the PR battle. Fuck the media. Fuck the media.
That's what I'm saying. Right? The masses are buying that horseshit.
In Manhattan that live in the bubble, in LA that live in the bubble. You're batshit crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. And they're looking at me saying this sort of stuff going, oh, this guy's on Pluto. Oh, no, I actually kind of know what the fuck I'm talking about. Because here's the thing. Why? When you try to sit back and, all right, go outside of everything and say, why the very next day would Mueller, who got interviewed for the head of the FBI, which he can't serve as anymore, suddenly get brought on when Trump said, I will hire an investigator, a special investigator. Why has there not been another special investigator hired to investigate the investigator? Why don't you ask yourself that?
I don't know.
You do know. You just don't want to say it.
I mean, it's one of those, like I've said before, man. Time will tell in this because I don't know who's on whose side. Everybody's flipping sides, man. Fun and games.
There's a lot of people jumping ship right now. You know that.
Like we talked about before, we've seen a lot of resignations. We've seen a lot of people who aren't running again. But like, what does that mean? Is this really leading to what you're talking about?
How does Matt Lauer get outed all of a sudden? How does Weinstein get outed?
Or Charlie Rose? Any of these guys?
All these people. Tom Hanks all of a sudden getting outed.
Which is
Spielberg, Stephen King. We can go down the list.
It's
the Seagram's heiress. It's all. I'm telling you, man. This is heavy, heavy stuff. We are witnessing prophetic times. I truly believe we are witnessing prophetic times.
There is definitely something going on because, all these from these pedophile arrests to, the popes, the cardinals, the bishops.
Notice how they're working their way up to the Pope.
But like you said, but like you said, it's all happening under the auspices of this gentleman, Donald Trump. It has not happened not that in my recollection, I've never seen this amount of arrests. And just the conversation of this kind of network that we talk about, from Corey Feldman to, your Fiona Barnett, your Sarah Ruth Ashcrafts, your Jenny Moonstone.
Isaac Cappy, the actor that I just showed you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's just more and more information out there about this. And it's interesting how we choose our battles. I mean, not that kids aren't being detained, or not that if kids were being detained and separated from their parents aren't important, but it's just when, to my understanding, Here's
the thing, dude. It's illegal to walk into a nation without going through proper channels.
I get that.
You broke the law.
Well,
right?
And even the numbers, like we talked about, of the 12,000 kids, 10,000 were basically either solo or with someone they didn't know or wasn't their parent.
They were being human trafficked.
Right. I mean, that's kind of on its face what it appears. So it's like, whatever. Like
fake news.
Yeah.
Fake news.
But what again? What is this? What is this leading to? Because these two, I mean, we're literally almost speaking to. When I had whatever, I don't even almost. I had dinner with some folks the other night. They were older.
Was it your parents?
They were older, and it was some friends, and they were had some other friends I hadn't seen in a long time. And we were just speaking different languages, and I understand it. The level of conditioning. I mean, we're all, like Jenny Moonstone said, we're all kind of almost MK Ultra in our own way. We all have our own kind of conditioning. I
want your parents in the crowd in Chicago.
I didn't say it was my parents. I did not say it was.
I want these older people in the crowd when we do the show.
One of them said they go, I like that, it was like, I like that Rachel Maddow. I like their, man, I listen to her all the time. And they're like, you know what? If you don't listen to this, if you don't listen to these guys, you just don't know what's going on in the world. And I literally just sat there silent. I can't, there's nothing, we're just speaking different language. There's nothing, I can't, you know what I mean? But they're old school, you know what I mean? They're products of their environment, and I get it. Everything was about race, like he's just a racist, and it's all about keeping black people down, and et cetera. I mean, it was just a bunch of different.
Did you explain the walkaway movement from the Democratic plantation to them?
I said nothing. I literally said, because
dude, you got to ruin a dinner once in a while.
No, I just
to help them out.
It reminded me of how, and we talked about before, like the older generation, they're not zeroing in on anymore. They have them pretty substantially mind fucked.
Yeah,
the youth is what they're going after, and we see that. Yeah. So I mean, I don't blame them for thinking. I mean, whatever. You don't have to fucking agree with everything I think or whatever. But there's just a certain, like I said, we're almost speaking different languages now.
Yeah.
As this continues to progress, people's hatred of a particular candidate is just skewing their minds to the fact that
because of what they're told by the media. That's
a huge part of it.
Stop basing what you hear from the media or from us.
Do
Research
the work
yourself.
Yes,
God's
yes,
sake.
That's crucial.
I said to God, I don't even know her name. She's a liberal TV.
Rachel Maddow
anchor, no, and she said, it's inhumane, what we're doing to illegal aliens and this and that, and building a wall is not realistic. And they always do this. They always make it the humanitarian thing So it's
Kids.
wrong for you to. Well, Flint.
Kind of
Flint's-
person are you?
When Flint's still without water and infrastructure needs fixing, how dare we spend $20 billion on a wall to keep these desperate people out of the country? And I just came back with a tweet that said, look, we spend $140 billion a year on illegal aliens, and I made sure to write illegal aliens in there, not undocumented.
Right,
you know,
right, of course.
And said, we already spend that much money, 140 billion. Another, 20 billion is, consider it an investment. He said, my wife came here legally, okay? We jumped through all the hoops, did everything we were supposed to do for her to become a citizen. Look, I get it. There's a lot of poor people out there in other countries. There's roughly 6 to 7 billion, I can't remember the exact number, that are living below the poverty line set in Mexico, in the world. So if you think we're going to change the world by allowing massive floods of poor people from other countries to come into our country, you're fucking high. We're going to destroy and bring our country down and turn it into a third world shithole, okay? We have to fix those countries and teach them how to fix their own countries, teach them how to get rid of the corruption like we are doing here with Trump, and that's how you fix the fucking world. So don't say, open borders and this and that, because then everything's fucked, okay? That's just the way it is. I have a zero tolerance for this mentality that we have an open border and all this other stuff. It's garbage.
Well, I mean, like I said, I co-host the Conspiracy Farm. My thought is in allowing all of this, just kind of rampant illegal immigration is creating that voting block in places like Arizona, California. They're
going to vote unwittingly for more globalists.
Well,
right?
because they get all this shit. They come over and they get all this free shit.
And they
so
fucking give you a 6-year prison sentence for having a fucking straw in California now, but they have safe havens for illegals that are fucking murdering people. Come on. Really.
Dude, to talk about Conspiracy Farm, we are here on the Conspiracy Farm. Here where we entertain this shit.
I'm getting wound up, buddy.
I saw this today, and it was interesting that, again, allegedly, it was just, we hypothesize on these things, that the fires in California are set purposely to get federal dollars because they're not getting federal dollars for being sanctuary cities, or as much as they would like for sanctuary cities, but they can get
they're gonna
shitload
use
of money
the money
for
for
declaring
the fires,
declare emergency.
Improperly use those funds, right?
That's what I read.
That's
I
a
don't know
slush fund for all these scumbags. And here's the thing, though.
Well, no, but the thought of like, let's set these fires deliberately. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I don't necessarily buy all
one
into it,
guy's
but
been
that's
arrested for setting 15 of them. He's been
What?
arrested.
Really?
Yes, for setting 15 of them. But where I was going was, you and I can actually start a really lucrative business right now. I don't think it's hit you yet.
What's that?
We're going to buy a shitload of straws and we're going to fucking sell them on Craigslist.
Straws?
To people in California.
Straws?
Straws.
Like-
the ones that bend and the stripes on them.
Why would we help me out? Why would we? What's that?
Because they outlawed them in, San Francisco and stuff, because they found a straw in a friggin' turtle's nose, dude. A sea turtle's nose.
Are you serious?
It's a 6-year prison sentence for having a straw in San Francisco.
Now, I don't know, dude, you know what? I saw a show where they were pulling one of those fuckers out of one of his
that's
noses.
what it was.
And it was like,
That's what
it was pretty gnarly. But, but we definitely have to do something about that, dude. Some of the parts in the ocean that are just filled with fucking.
Well, Fukushima's already fucked up the West Coast.
No,
of the
for
United
sure.
States already,
Without a
so
doubt.
I didn't want to hear that. A straw is the least of their worries in sea
But
turtle
the
world.
accumulation of plastic is all
No,
over.
I get it. Okay, yeah. I get it. But how about you and I do an episode?
6 years? Fucking crazy.
How about you and I do an episode where we go down to downtown Davenport and we help homeless people and we feed homeless people? How about we do that? That's helping the world, right?
That's definitely a part.
That's spreading some love.
There's definitely many ways.
Not
Absolutely.
outlawing straws and sending people to prison for them.
6 years? Really? That's crazy.
I'm not joking. Governor Moonbat Jerry Brown even made a statement on it.
Governor Moonbat.
Well, no, they call him Moonbeam. I'm sorry. But no, so the world is upside down right now in its way of thinking. There's no common sense. There is zero accountability, zero common sense, and we have to change that by kicking people's asses, Jeff.
Well, possibly. I just.
No, I mean kicking their asses verbally.
No, I know. I understand.
Kicking their asses intellectually. Kicking their asses.
But this kind of.
if need be.
But this moves me into what Maxine Waters has talked about, canceling, events because of death threats, and saying if you're going to shoot her, they're going to shoot her
Nobody
straight.
threatened to kill her.
No, I understand, but this ratcheting up of the rhetoric is alarming to me because, I had a good conversation with a gentleman I spoke to about the other day, former, very high-ranking military official who's now retired, potential sponsor of the show later on down the line. But, we're moving towards something that we don't.
Dude, there's a guy running for Congress. I can't remember what state.
Civil War is what it was.
I read on Twitter. He wrote in response to Ben Shapiro or somebody like that, one of the pundits, and said, he was talking about Trump's wife, Ivana, right? And he says, you realize that she works
Melania?
Yeah, his wife.
Oh, they're talking about the old one. That's Ivana, yeah.
So, yeah, Melania.
Okay.
Said, you realize the First Lady, the FLOTUS, works by the hour, right? And I wanted to write back on Twitter and go, listen, asshole, if she did, you sure as fuck couldn't afford her. Okay? You know what I mean? That's the level of scumbaggery we've gotten to here. Look, I despised Obama's friggin' policies, and I don't particularly care for his wife. She said a lot of shit. Oh, this is the first time I've ever been proud of my country. Fuck that. I despise their policies, period.
You're saying that's a lie as big as her penis? I'm sorry.
Well, according to Joan Rivers.
I joke, ladies and gentlemen.
According to Joan
Rivers. She's all lass, old Michelle Obama. She's all lass.
Yeah, so, but my point is this, is that we've now reached a level of volatility, like you were saying, that how did these people even realize who they're pushing? Is it that that do you realize the veterans out there, the level of expertise these people have?
And that's what I spoke with to this gentleman who the other day. That particular side has been very patient as these Antifas, and we've said this. I'm sorry for echoing the sentiments we've already said on the show. Been very patient as these guys throw Molotov cocktails and balloons of piss and fireworks.
Big fireworks.
Yeah, big fireworks. And it's almost like they just put down their Xbox controller and decided to go out to protest today. And like we said, they just don't get the cats like you they might run into, or the gentleman who I spoke to, or a Woody Mister, or a Sawman Sawyer, or a Sonny Puzikas. Like, they just don't fucking get, once this switch gets flipped,
it's over. It's over.
It's not going to be anything they want to fuck with. It's almost like, like Brock Lesnar, when he get punched, he would run around and whatever. He would have that kind of like, once it got real, not that Brock's not a bad motherfucker, but he didn't take a punch well. He would turn and cut. Yeah, he didn't like getting hit. And that's kind of what these guys are going to be. It's like, oh, wow, shit just got very real.
Yeah, I mean, just me, for instance. I got attacked by a biker gang. They were beating me with pool cues. I put 6 of them in the hospital. Right? There's a million of me.
Exactly.
Literally millions of me. All the retired Marines and all these types of guys, the Army, the infantry guys, those type of guys that are just sick of this shit, and they get pushed to their limits and finally just go, you know what?
I'm done.
We're done. We're going to get together. There's a huge Antifa thing. They're going to wreck a bunch of shit. You know what? Bring your gun. Fuck these guys. They're all going to get mowed down. And that's
I think the threshold for them is going to be a little like something has to occur, like way
killing Trump.
I was just
they kill Trump, it's over. If they kill Trump, it is over.
If there is an assassination or even an attempt on Trump, I think that will definitely be the crossing of the Rubicon, if you will.
Speaking of, there was did you see the weather? the Q posted it. It was pictures of a missile being launched off an island. It was a weather camera that caught the launch of a missile, and that missile was intended for, allegedly intended for Air Force One.
Recently?
Yeah.
Coming from
pretty recently.
Coming from where?
Coming from an island.
An island where? Who's owning this missile? Who's launching this? Who are we speculating is
I'm
launching?
not sure.
I heard nothing of this.
Yeah. Q talked about it.
Q. We have to worry. I wonder about Q. I think Q is hope porn, but we will see. I think Q is
I
a
met a
very
guy,
I think
dude.
Q is a very sophisticated marketing strategy that has allowed a lot of people to buy into it, propagate it. And
Is
then,
this part of the reality show?
Exactly.
Right? Is that part of the reality show?
Exactly.
I met a guy in the Denver airport. I was in the restaurant eating, and there's a bar right there, right? At the K Bueno, my favorite place in the Denver airport. So anyway.
What is it called?
K Bueno.
Okay, bueno
K
way.
Bueno. So I'm sitting there eating some tacos, and this guy, there's two people sitting here, and then there's one guy on the far side, and he's got a hat on, and it's got the letter Q on it. And he's going off.
About
he's
this
going
stuff?
off about all of this
No.
stuff. Dude. Yeah, he is
Nice.
he's chirping up, and I'm listening to him, and I'm just keeping quiet, right? And I'm sitting there going, this guy's pretty spot on. And I make one comment. I can't remember exactly what I said to him, but basically I kind of confirmed and then added to what he was saying, right? And I said, and corrected him a little bit on some stuff, and only because of my sources, our sources that have talked to me,
Right.
who are high-level intelligence guys, and he looks at me, then he looks at the two people sitting between us and goes, "Do you mind if you guys move down? I'm going to sit next to that guy." And they go, "Yeah, no problem." So he comes down, sits next to me, and goes off, dude. He's like, what about this? And what about that? And
Did
so
you
I
know
start
who
talking-
you were?
No, he had no clue. I had no clue. And by the end of the conversation, I just go, "I got to catch my flight, bro. He's
You're on fire.
He's going hard."
You should have pubbed the show, dude. Be like, well, you need to.
No, I did. I told him.
Okay.
Yeah, I told him about the conspiracy farm.
Yeah, again, it's really, I find it odd because there's this weird, serious divergence of cats who are just like, Trump's the worst, et cetera, and then cats like are, it's not even right,
Bill
left,
Camper,
really.
my buddy Bill Camper.
Shout out.
Billy Camper.
Billy K.
You need to tag his ass in this
Billy
show.
Camper and Al Lowe, dude.
Dude, Al Lowe is just... Al Lowe has gotten to the point where he's defending the pedos with his friggin' posts, and I'm calling him out every time. I go, pedo protector Al shows up on cue. That's what I'm saying. Right when he writes something, I'm letting poor Al know, man. Al, I want to know, how did you rise to the top
in the boxing world?
In the Detroit political machine and the union world.
Really?
Right?
Huh.
How did you rise to the top, Al? I just want to know.
Inquiring minds want to
Al's
know.
a good guy. Those people were very nice to me when I was in Detroit. We had some good conversations with the union people. That's back when the UAW and the Teamsters were all trying to unionize the sport of mixed martial arts, and they kind of wanted me to be one of the
I think I remember hearing about that.
Look, even back then, before I was super, super political, I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable sitting in Detroit UAW offices having these bigwigs friggin' talking to me.
In Detroit, for fuck's sake. Hoffa wound up missing and fucking around in Detroit.
Was it Detroit?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. I thought it was underneath Giant Stadium.
No, well, that's where he might be buried. But
when they tear that fucker down, you might want to dig a little extra.
Yeah, no, the Teamsters. He was the head of the Teamsters. That was that's Jimmy Hoffa fucking territory. But yeah, I don't know, man. What else do we got? Are we about wrapped up?
I think we're good.
Well, again, ladies and gentlemen.
What do you got on there?
No, I'm just looking. We had the same names going down. Check out Fiona Barnett. Check out Candy Girl, that documentary. It's only about an hour long. It's on Facebook.
Read up on the Seagram's heiress, right?
The Seagram's heirs. I mean, again, these are not all isolated incidents. What they're having.
Jeffrey Epstein's Rape Island, Pedophile Island, is fucking real. Now you know it's real.
Well, again, I don't know if this necessarily coincides with all the shit Q's talking about, but it's definitely strange that he does, or Q does talk about it, and the fact that Trump's had all of these arrests, all of these things are going. I've never seen the number of, the freezing of assets globally of people trafficking.
Military tribunals coming
bishops
to you in 2019.
The numbers of arrests are quite staggering. I don't know exactly what it means, and I'm like I said, time will tell. Quite at this point, because
there's a lot of people going down. That's all.
There is. I mean, Weinstein, the RICO shit with Disney. That is fucking enormous, dude.
It's heavy. It's very heavy.
It really is heavy. Yeah. So, a time will tell, and I can't necessarily sign on to a Q or whatever, but times are definitely a changing, and I'm with that because. When you hear some of that shit from Candy Girl, even the Johnny Gosch story, any of this, just imagine the absolute terror that these young children are going through at the hands of these very, very twisted human beings.
That's the reality of it.
That truly is the reality of it.
And why is social media controllers suppressing this information?
Without a doubt.
I mean, we got demonetized on YouTube. Fuck you, YouTube.
Yeah,
how's that?
Without a doubt.
Right?
And it's, we're definitely, like, again, if we can get Fiona Barnett on, I mean, all of this subject is beyond third rail, quite frankly, because when you start talking about the upper echelon of society that this reaches.
Jimmy Savile being knighted so he could not be charged.
Yes, I mean, it's.
BBC.
It's exhausting. It's really,
Right.
But the work must be done, ladies and gentlemen. Let justice be done, though the heavens fall. It's been Jeffrey Wilson, chilling with my boy Pat Militich, hanging out, enjoying a little bit of Hawkeye.
Beverages, cheers.
Cheer, my man. Salute. Yep. Peace and love so much, you guys. Thank you guys so very much for sticking with us here on the Conspiracy Farm, even though we talk a little nonsense sometimes. We're doing it for you guys, man. And for,
hopefully you are entertained and informed.
And our next generation, man. Seriously, we got to save our kids, dude, and must protect our children. Peace and all that kind of love, man. Stay tuned. There will always be more.